Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Smudcast number 643. Why anime and manga has become boring. How are we going to tackle this idea, let alone the video? This is kind of a hard sell when you tell me that something is boring. One of the more popular media experiences in the world, not just Japan, in the world, outclassing entire other genres of the same type, meaning comics, absolutely dominating the sales charts for the past 10 years, let alone the past 5. We've seen entire franchises come and go from Japan, and they aren't stopping. So whether you think they're boring or not is very subjective and very hard to grade, because boring could mean like you could have an anime or a comic or a show you really like, but you could become bored of it because they're not doing anything new, or that they did something really good last season and it just doesn't compare. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm going back to my favorite place, my favorite restaurant downtown. They haven't changed. And you're like, oh, there's nothing new on the menu, or the chef is out of ideas. It's still a great place.
You can't improve on perfection.
There's a certain level of quality where it's like once you get there, it's like you don't need it. Like I don't need a better hamburger. I really don't need like gold plated or what is it, gold encrusted ornaments on my bun. I don't need like some expensive type of relish or some like overly expensive meat. Like I don't need that. I need a nice, simple, cost-effective, juicy burger, and I'm perfect. It's done. You don't need anything else. So I don't know what this guy or what people want from whatever spiel he's going to give, whatever research he's done. But there's nothing wrong with anime and manga. It is the largest, most genre diverse medium I've ever seen, more than video games. And there's no doubt that they're inspired by each other. There's some anime that I talk about Bebop. It started without a manga. The manga came later. It was so good that they decided to make a manga off the anime, which is kind of funny. It's the opposite way. And that didn't go too far, I don't recall. But, bored? Never. Even the bad anime, even with Naruto, I'm not bored of Naruto. Maybe after the 500th episode, I might become bored. But that's just because of quantity, not because of the initial idea. Once it ended, it's like, oh, wow, that ended well. That ended finally, and it worked okay. And then they have a sequel to his son. So, yeah, hard sell for me. Maybe you guys can fill me in on what makes anime and manga boring, but it must be a personal experience, so I can't say.
Well, for me, like anime is like kind of like a cool market because like opposing to Western standards, there's a real competition there instead of like maintaining like dead franchises that like shouldn't exist anymore. DC and Marvel, they try to like bring like fresh shows all the time. Like there's like real competition there. Like
Yeah, look, after 20 years, even Ash Ketchum takes a rest.
Yeah, even him.
That's fine. And it's not that the studio is going to stop making anime. They're just going to stop that franchise. And now that they have all this notoriety, they can do bigger projects. They can do simpler or more cost-effective projects because they're so good at their pipeline for making a serialized show. So I don't see that as a bad thing, and I don't think it's boring. It just means this is the quality of animation we expect from that studio. And that's really low compared to what it was today. Like you look 20 years ago at Pokemon, and now what they can do, whether it's full motion video or 3D or whatever, they do a lot of amazing stuff. And we always talked about the animation on, was it Chainsaw Man or was it
Chainsaw Man? Yeah.
Even Demon Slayer. Like they're the animation's top quality. So even with a dumb movie. Okay, even with a dumb movie like the Disney films, the Star Wars films, look at Rogue One. The first 10 minutes are like, whoa, do you know what you're in for? Those camera shots, those CGI, like that. Okay, even if you don't like the story, your eyes are going to be entertained, your ears are going to be entertained, even if everything is kind of meh. So,
I watched through, or attempted to watch through Rogue One with two separate people, and both of them around the point where they get to the after they get to the first planet, a little bit after that, once they've blown that thing up, they went, okay, can we stop? And it's like,
yeah.
there is an appeal to the idea of a beautiful, meaningless story, like similar to Avatar. Problem is, that's only works if the story is simple. If there is no story, then it's just beautiful noise.
Yeah, it's kind of like you think of Standalone Complex, or actually no, some of those are pretty intelligent. But the movie Innocence from Ghost in the Shell.
Yes, that is exactly the definition of that.
It's visually gorgeous, and you're not even sure what's happening half the time. But that's good enough if you just want to watch it for like you would watch it once and that'd be it. It'd be like it's like
a very trippy experience.
Yeah, it's like an art piece. You just go to the art gallery for that one time when I don't know, Renaissance fairies were in the town, and you're like, oh, I'll go check it out. The 400-year-old painting, sure, why not? You're like, oh wow, I've never heard of these painters before. They did really amazing stuff, and you don't really care. That's after that. It's fine. You experienced it. That was cool. So,
Neil says Mushoku Tensei is a masterpiece. I am not going to argue with you per se. Just don't go around children, sir. Stay away from them.
It's a mature story. I know that they've done some offshoot mangas from it. So it's gorgeously done. It is playing off the isekai genre, but that's, everything these days. And it's being a bit more mature. It's being a bit more sophisticated. Is it amazing? Is it groundbreaking? No, it's just an evolution of the genre. So
is it an evolution if it was the one that kickstarted the trend of Monday Isekai?
I don't think it's not a revolution. It's not like reinventing what it means to have an isekai. But compared to other isekais out there, this is probably the most well put together, the most well thought out. Whether you like the execution is up to you, or whether you like the content is up to you. So there's that dynamic between, am I leaving my past life? Am I dragging my problems home with me to this new world? Is my family here more important than previously? Am I learning anything? So all those themes are there. They're just done in a very dark way at times.
It did something with the isekai genre, which existed before, that it did something right to kickstart this. Whatever that was. If it was that what you just said, because I didn't get around to watch it yet, I can't exactly say. But there were isekais before that were pretty well done. But I wonder if they had been made now with the animation tricks and qualities that we see in anime series now, whether they each could have kickstarted this. And in the comedy sector, I would always name Those Who Hunt Elves for that, because that is just wacky nonsense with a tank in a fantasy world.
I won't disagree, Neil. It is a very good adaptation, but I cannot help but be freaked out by Mushoku Tensei.
Really? Is it because he's that 19-year-old trapped in a young boy's body, and he's playing around with his maid's panties, and he puts it in a little shrine?
He sexually assaults a minor while she's sleeping.
Oh, okay.
It's stuff like that, which they cut out the adaptation, thank God. But it's stuff like that that makes me, okay, the author wants you to hate this guy. There are other ways to do that and make him an irredeemable creep.
Okay.
Like, there's a point. I don't want to get into it. This isn't the Mushoku Tensei stream.
Yeah.
That was just... Yeah.
Well, if he wants to make him irredeemable that way, then he will be forever irredeemable.
That's kind of where I'm lean towards in Mushoku Tensei. There's a lot of people that say that, the guy gets a lot better down the line. I'm sure he does. I've seen some images that references that, like him getting his being stuffed, so to say, which is good. Like, it's clearly not a case of evil healer, where the awful person actually gets rewarded by the end. However, getting to that point where the redemption happens, I don't think I have the time for that.
That's totally fair. And you know what? That's what's interesting about those stories is they do push the envelope a bit, and they're not boring, to bring it back to the video, because you would say, okay, I have a strong opinion on this. I might watch it because of that, as opposed
absolutely. But Jochen says I would never describe that as boring.
Exactly. See, that's the topic of the video.
And yeah, unfocused maybe.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to like go off into like, oh, this anime, ReZero or all these other isekais. There's so many. I want to focus on the video and why this guy might think this is an issue to bring up. Because if you like or dislike something, it's not just it's unboring to you, meaning your brain has latched onto it for enough time to make an opinion, and that's what I think is missing in this argument. And maybe he's just listening to his fans. Maybe he just made this up. I don't know. We're going to find out. Anyway, let's get going. Before that, we're going to read some donations and hit the video. Here we go. Tess Tickle. Okay, Tess, how's it going? When people say anime and manga boring now, they're typically talking about shonen, and all I can do is roll my eyes into the back of my head. Is shonen boring? Check out some seinen. Hell, if you're feeling adventurous, look at the shoujo. You have options. Yes, as I said, it is the largest diverse genres or medium of genre I've ever seen. There's something for everyone. And
you want sci-fi, fantasy, slice of life, school bullshit, wholesome stuff, horror, psychological horror.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's just everything. Different art styles. It's not all the range up to pretty realistic art styles. There's everything. There's fucking everything.
All right, here's Kyogress's hideout. Thank you, sir. If you want to get the best out of Naruto, okay, I recommend reading the manga. I agree. Without all the pointless anime filler, it's so much better. Yeah, that's true.
Well, what did I watch those 200 filler episodes for?
You like Naruto? Who knows? Anyway,
I don't.
Oh,
I don't. I just felt like I had to do it, and when I started, I couldn't stop. I just had to. Maybe the next filler isn't shit. Maybe the next filler isn't shit. Maybe the next filler is shit. There were 3 filler episodes
like
that went
a lot
shit.
of people in history felt like they should try something. Maybe not. It's not a good idea to jump in the well with them.
It's like that. That rock that you push up the mountain, and eventually it gets up there, and then Naruto is over, and then there's the next. The next 200 episode bullshit.
The next Sisyphus experience, if you will.
All right.
Yes.
Well, this video is 9 minutes long. It came out, 2 weeks ago, roughly? So, only has 62,000 views almost. And guy's name is The Masked Man. 350K, 1,000 subs. Fantastic. We'll see. We'll see what he has to say. Let's get going.
Has anime and manga become boring? This is a bit of a loaded question since it's so subjective. Some of you might be thinking, of course not, while others might answer yes with a question as to why they feel that way. The last 4 years have been incredibly interesting, given the boom in manga with series such as Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Tokyo Revengers for a period of time, and the still polarizing ending to Attack on Titan. There was definitely a heavy saturation with new series catching the eye of readers all over the world. This last year, however, has felt a lot more stale, and obviously I'm not just referring to 2023, but really a good amount of 2022 as well. But perhaps I'm misplacing my sentiment, especially when you take into consideration series that were returning, plenty of new series coming out, and some of the series I've listed are still ongoing, and there's plenty of others that have...
Okay, small point about the editing. Please push the point where your next clip begins a little further away. Like, your voice is overlapping. It's making it very hard to follow what you're saying.
Well, I'm not a fan of fast cuts, but that's the thing in YouTube. If you want to get noticed, you need fast cuts all the time.
Oh yeah, but he's doing fast cuts, which is fine. Like, I have no problem with that. Problem is when the clips are overlapping. Not the actual visual clips, but the audio clips overlapping.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I noticed that too. He sounds very amateurish in editing. These are very basic things to come on.
yeah, like the visuals are fine. Like visual editing is alright, but the audio editing needs some work.
All right.
You know,
Fair enough.
apologies.
Been complete now that I haven't even read yet. So then what is it? Because clearly the answer doesn't lie
Yeah, it
within the
happened
medium
again.
itself. I did a video over a year ago talking about my difficulties to watch an anime due to the set pacing it has and my lack of ability to focus when watching one. Even if I think the series is really, really good, it is impossible for me to sit down and watch an anime on my...
That's a you problem, sir. That's like my attention doesn't work. It's like I don't care.
I have ADHD.
That sounds like a skill issue.
Oh no, we're talking like it's the president's. Sleepy Joe. All right.
This is skill
For
issue.
real.
my own. The problem now is I'm having the same issue with manga. It's come to the point where I've been reading
I read a comic book on my computer, and I can't keep my eyes open. Again, what is wrong with you, sir?
Dude, go outside, do something under the sky. Get into a dojo, do martial arts. I don't know. Something.
Stop masturbating.
Yes.
Go to the park where they have the jungle gym and do a pull-up, and see.
Yeah.
And see
One, just one.
Yeah, see if you can do
One.
it. Yeah, after do a pull-up, see if you can do a second one, and then if you can't, then go back to your chair and say, "Wow, this is so much more relaxing. I now have attention to breathe, catch my breath."
Yeah. It could just be that you're so overstimulated that you don't feel anything
There,
anymore and
there's-
fell into a depression. Now your
Excellent.
blood pressure's all down. You can't concentrate anymore because of that. So go out there, do that bloody pull-up, get your circulation up, not through masturbation, and then you can read again.
That's a good
Also-
point. When you're overstimulated and you're trying to analyze, whether it's a science experiment or a block of code or even just watching cartoons, you're like, I don't care because I have too much happening in my brain right now.
I guess I could kind of relate to this in a way. Back in around 2014, where I hit a block in my interest for manga and anime
Okay.
after reading a lot of romance manga specifically,
Oh yeah.
and getting cock-blocked by the fact that nothing is happening for 80 chapters.
Yes, this is a problem with a lot of not just romance genre in Japan, but even in subgenres that use romance as like a side story. It's always the innocent two people who are just sort of, oh, maybe he'll look at me and maybe we'll talk, and it's like, no, there's no
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah.
It's
And
all
it goes on
innocent.
for 8 volumes.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite was Snow White with the red hair at the time. That was a great manga. Problem was, it hit the point where the characters get separated, so most of it is focusing on what they're doing on their own time when they're away from the main characters, meaning that they don't really have anyone else to bounce off of.
Right.
And you're essentially just waiting there for them to get back together. If not to have the relationship, then just to talk to one another and like get some banter back.
Yeah, that happened with well, now it's better, but in Komi-san, I'm sure you guys might have heard of that. The characterization is mostly focused on the other characters in the story. So it's like this 100 mangas of just these two people who have these crazy, crazy friends, and they all sort of respect this one girl and this guy who's warming up to her, and she's opening up, and it's this beautiful story. It takes so long to get to the point where she's like, okay, now we're a thing. But even then, it's just this sort of warm, fuzzy, she's my girlfriend, I'm his boyfriend sort of vibe, as opposed to anything romantic. So
Yeah, but the reason I bring this up is because what ended up bringing me back into anime was a purely coincidental purchase at an anime shop where I got a fucking Gunpla because it looked cool.
oh.
And afterwards I wanted to get the context of what is this thing I just bought. And then I go through Gundam. And that was a complete pace change because that's like 50 episodes of a continuous epic.
Which one was it?
The Goof from Gundam Origins.
Origins.
And it's like, okay. And this was anime came out in like 2014 or 15.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I don't just want to jump in there because there's probably like 30, 40 years after the original one. So I might not know like all the references, all the things I should know to be interested. So I went, okay, why not just start from the bottom up?
Yeah.
And that's how I spent like 3 years going through Gundam.
I tried watching the first few episodes of Witch from Mercury, and I stopped for whatever reason. I just stopped. And
the reason is that Witch from Mercury is mid. Absolute mid.
It feels like this is perfect. This is exactly what I want to watch. It's the genre I love. Lots of good setups, and I'm just like, it just doesn't hook me in for whatever reason. So I might get back to it just to see what happens, but it feels like there's a lot of effort that went into it, and it didn't pay off as much, or it's taking too long.
It suffers from the fact that the main character doesn't have a drive. It's the same problem I have with Vinland Saga right now. That I'm trying to get into, where the main character is a secondary character to everyone else. Where it's like, oh no, where everyone's like, oh no, don't worry. In 5 episodes, we'll get to the main character's story. Then you'll get your actual, character progression.
I completely forgot about the boy to the point I forgot his name.
Well, I compare actually that character to, let's say, Yu from Persona 4, where Yu just wants to have friends, and she just wants to go to school and wants to get along with everyone, and then all this other shit happens around her. And that's interesting in Persona because it's goofy and magical and crazy. And in The Witch from Mercury, it's like you're on a space station and it doesn't make too much sense. And there's all these corporations and they're trying to make the next weapon. And you're like, I don't understand why this is a thing, why people care. So anyway, that's not important, but there are reasons why you fall out of interest. Not because it's boring, because it doesn't hook you in the next time. So episodic storytelling with manga works better than it does in anime, I've noticed. So
a lot of time. Also, GTA Witch from Midori. God, that's awful. You should feel... No, I'm kidding. That's fucking great.
All right. Anyway, back to the video.
I checked his channel and it's full of anime and manga. So I think after 3 years of just hooked up and doing the channel with 350k subs, I think you can get exhausted of doing the same kind of content for that long.
Yeah, get off the grid. Watch some J-drama instead.
It's possible.
Oh no, not J-drama. It's something completely different.
Then he'll fall in love with 4-year-old animation for learning how to spell and dance. Oh, no.
I know. Because it was supposed to be a joke because J-drama is just anime without the drawings.
It's don't watch that. Don't even try.
It's painful.
Anyway, we're a minute in. Let's keep going.
Like Yona the Dawn and Yusugoi, but I'm having the most difficult time making it past 1 chapter a day. Anyone who's followed me long enough knows that this isn't the first time something like this has happened, and I'm not the only one. Many people in my close circle...
Wisp, I think you're right. This guy has burnout. He's consuming too much media.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my God, is he gonna talk about how he had to leave his family? And then,
oh dear,
because he came out non-binary.
No, he became non-animation. He became
non-animation.
Non-animatory.
This is the cake aficionado going, oh, I'm so tired of cake. It's just so much cake, guys. I just can't take it anymore. It's all right.
You've overeaten. Simple.
Stop.
It's okay. It's okay. Take a break. Yeah. Do something else. Do something creative instead of something consumerist. How about that?
Exactly. Make something. There we go.
Make your own fucking manga. That's not boring.
If all you do is consume one type of product, regardless of how broad that category may be, you're gonna get tired. And all the classics didn't just write, they didn't just read and write the great classics that we know all day. They spend most of their time just hanging out with their friends.
Yeah, the product of a good critic is not to just, they're constantly consuming and then constantly analyzing. They're looking at something with a critical eye that takes time. You can't just consume 3 things at once. You consume one thing, you focus a lot of attention on it, you write down your thoughts, you go to sleep, you go about your daily life, do all the necessary things in life, and you go, oh yeah, what was that thing I was doing? Oh yeah, I was watching or reading this thing. And then you go back to your thoughts to see if they match up. It's the same process with writing. You go back the next day and say, was I writing really well or was I writing like a moron? And you reread it and you go, okay, I think this is still good, or I think this is shit. I need an editor. and you ask someone's opinion, you talk about it, you flesh it out. This is like going to therapy, but it's fun. And it's using your brain and your imagination. What makes something good? And it's a very important topic to have in life, not just about media, but everything, about buying a house, buying a car, buying groceries, whatever the case may be. Anyway, let's not get sidetracked. Let's get back to this person's problem of being inundated with media he's so bored with.
Haven't read or watched it was Taethium, simply boredom in Latin. I'd reached a point where I'd gotten extremely bored of anime and manga as a whole.
I mean, tedium?
To better understand this, I looked into boredom and what leads up to it. How could I possibly get
What?
bored? Many of these series have been incredibly...
Please stop saying bored. Use some other word.
Is he trying to say he's never been bored?
I had to research this subject myself, so I went to the Wikipedia page about boredom.
It's like I wonder what would the Wikipedia for boredom look like? I've seen the Wikipedia for
I'm
work.
gonna look at it.
Go find out. Go on the great quest.
I don't think we need to talk about how ridiculous this sounds, so let's just keep going.
Oh my god, there is a
Oh Lord!
in conventional usage, boredom, ennui, and tedium is an emotional and occasional psychological state experienced when an individual is left without anything in particular to do. Oh my god. This can't be real.
This is a very long page.
Anyway, let's keep going, guys.
themes and its lessons, as well as providing characters constantly that I love to see grow or deteriorate as the series progresses. To add on top of that, I have the privilege to talk about these things on a platform which I could not be more grateful for. And to even add on top of that, there are so many different genres of stories, each with their own art style, setting, and unique spin on things that I'm familiar with. There's nothing new under the sun.
Wow.
That's a weird
Nothing?
sentence.
Absolutely nothing?
It's from the
We live in a time where all the stuff is reinventing itself right now. Is the thing you're bored with reinvention?
I'm waiting for him to flesh that point out because he just said that there's a bunch of reinventions and stuff about things he already knows, and then says there's nothing new under the sun. Yeah, that was set back in the Bible.
Yeah, this is like saying, "Wow, my flip phone is the cool shit," and then, "Oh, look at this smartphone. It's so boring. It's so new."
Oh, it just gives me access to all the knowledge in the world, the good and the bad and the bullshit. And every cat video under the sun. Oh, I am so bored. You sound like a hedonist who's depressed.
I just
On that note, one more thing I have to mention. The Wikipedia page on boredom features the picture of a bored cat on a couch.
Oh.
Okay. I just remembered that the term "nothing new under the sun" is just a rephrasing of what was said in the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Sure.
Like, we are faster and faster years back now. Like, it's a common interpretation. So I'm waiting for him to see if he has something to flesh out this point, or if he actually believes there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah,
and that actually stands on its own.
There are many reasons why you're bored, and everyone can relate. We all went to school. We all had boring teachers. This is very common. We don't have to research what that feeling is. This is so silly.
And from I care most about the writing. I've said that enough times, I believe. What stands out here, and that's the pictures he uses for his video especially, is anime is a visually stunning medium. And especially today, it's the things he's showing that is always, when I watch something, it's always having an effect on me. Well, I just look at it and think, like just this shot here with the lights going out around the volcano. It's just absolutely stunning, beautiful, and he has no feeling to it. He finds it all boring now. It's all nothing. I think he has a depression.
I think he needs to go for a jog or a walk or pet a dog or something. I don't know. Just get out there.
It's kind of like common to experience these kind of burnouts with people who got like really successful and like doing like very menial things on YouTube, and then like they just like can have like a kind of lifestyle that supports them to do the same thing.
But
like yeah,
that doesn't make sense, because if you're making a video, if you're editing a video, that's very boring. That's very slow and tedious, and it takes so much time and effort compared to what you really want to say to get off your chest or emotional reason for doing so. So if he's going, oh, I'm so bored of this amazing format of a thing I've been focusing on my life on for the past, 5 years, whatever he started, it's like, okay, fair enough. You've been saturated with this stimulus that you need a difference or change of. But if you're been doing something for that long, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're going to get bored of anything. It really doesn't matter. So he should naturally know that. Now, unless he's saying something about the format or the genre he likes the most that's getting bored, which we've heard before from other YouTubers, they've argued why isekai is boring and all this other stuff, and that's fair. But you have to explain why in detail. You can't say, oh, the saltiness on this sandwich is too the Himalayan pink salt is just, it's too much. It's blah, blah, blah. It's like, what? You don't want Himalayan pink salt? Take it off. Imagine you watch something that did not have all this amazing animation, sound, music, voice acting, comedy, drama, blah, blah, blah. Imagine how boring that would be. So the idea of stimulation being boring only becomes that way because you've been oversaturated with it. So, simple solution. But maybe he's got a point somewhere here that we're missing.
Well, it definitely is a takeaway that, like, for his burnout, that the kind of like audio that, like, the Weirdcast that Lolly was pointing out is that, like, he doesn't end his sentences. And, like, if he was passionate enough about this job that he has on YouTube, he would at least, like, be professional enough to, like, be coherent about his speech for 9 minutes. But
it's not like he's tired of, like, exercise, because a lot of people who do exercise, they get into it, they stop because, I don't have enough time. They make an excuse. It's hard.
Those are always excuses, yeah.
Yeah, they're all excuses. But for some cases, it's like, okay, you don't have time in the morning. You're too busy. Your ankle hurts. You have to repair. You have to wait for 3 days before you could get back to, get lifting a certain weight. So there's certain health reasons for that. But you're doing something hard. Watching anime or reading a book is not hard. It's fun. And you can't, like, it's like playing a video game for 2 hours. You can't keep doing it. You have to stop. Your brain is going to turn to mush. You have to take a nap. You have to get exercise. You got to get food in you. You got to do something. So this is what I'm saying is nothing is boring, especially when you're passionate about it. So I'm a little concerned, and I feel like we're being lied to, because anyone of this time on YouTube talking about media, a specific media, not a genre of media, but the media itself, that is where I'm like, dude, this is too broad.
Well, certainly the title of the video is a lie, because now we know that he's not talking about why anime and manga has become boring and is explaining that to us. It is that it has become boring to him personally.
But is it gonna become a personal therapy session for him?
Like yesterday?
Oh my God.
It's going that way.
Okay.
Oh no.
What I'm wondering is whether it's gonna become, Joseph Anderson did that with his video on why horror games doesn't scare him, and then he made a flat statement about how horror games just feel in general. And people are like, no, they don't. They really don't. What are you talking about?
But you know what? At least he redeemed himself with his funny Persona 4 stream. That shit was hilarious. Great vegetables.
Oh, absolutely. He has improved a lot since then. I just bring that up because somebody mentioned it in chat earlier, and it seems like it's going that direction where he says, here's why this doesn't work for me. And it's going to bring it into how this is actually something that's part of the medium. And that's just him suffering burnout from only consuming one type of product from one type of medium.
Yeah, character arc. Wow.
Like, I'll be completely honest. I watched almost no other anime besides Gundam till I got to the end of that list. That was not healthy. That was not good for my attention span when it comes to the medium. Would have been much better had I just watched other stuff in between, from, like, be it normal TV, movies, stuff like that. and it seems like he's going through something similar. But now he's making a video about how that's a fault of the medium? Question mark?
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
Every inspiration from something else, but it's the way each series deviates from those commonalities that allows them to develop a unique identity over time. So please stop acting surprised when a mangaka takes inspiration from another one. The point is, how could I possibly
Mangaka?
get bored with all of these upsides?
Mangaka.
Boredom itself derives.
That was a fucking non-sequitur. Please stop getting angry at people when they take inspiration. Who? Who are you talking about?
When the writers and producers of manga and anime take inspiration from other media, please don't get angry at them. It's like, okay.
Proceeding to mispronounce a word.
Are these angry people in the room with us right now, Max Man?
Stop
Please,
attacking
I would
my
like to know.
favorite authors. I was like, okay.
It's always that when these people are like burned out or like they're just angry, like little kids, they always have to go out that like, anyway, guys, don't attack these people because I'm gonna get even angrier. Like who the fuck is doing that right now? Why is that the point of this video? What is this video about?
And right now, I feel like so far the video is just missing the punchline, like the point as Smudge said earlier. Like besides that and the voices overlapping, it just seems like I see why it is. Well, we're probably gonna get about halfway into it and then be like, okay, now I understand why this is here.
Yeah,
All right. Anyway,
but is it gonna be worth it?
I don't know where he's going, actually, so hopefully there's a point.
From the simple feeling of being uninterested, taking place in the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, which dictates decision-making and planning. Being bored is no longer having the desire to be interested in the details of whatever it is, and most commonly feeling stuck in a repetitive and monotonous experience. Almost like when you're halfway through a semester.
Is this
and
in
you
the
walk
Wikipedia article?
This is solely. No, I lost the thought.
He is just bringing up, oh, your brain does this when you're bored. It's like, okay, that's not going to help you.
He's just saying that, oh, your pattern recognition is fed up. Okay,
Stop
then do
masturbating.
something. Yeah, that as well. And do something else. Not just fill the same pattern, because of course your brain's getting bored because it sees the same things all the time. You need something else. Watch Stargate, SG-1. I don't know. Watch some movies like with
Play
real
Postal
people.
Redux, kill all the Americans. It helped me to come over some depression. Yeah,
Watch Chernobyl. Watch something good.
something happy, Chernobyl.
Yeah, do a handstand.
That's
Watch
something-
fucking Lassie. Like, just watch something else.
I would say go to the park and pet a dog is probably the best idea. But
Yeah, and then, I don't know, play a board game.
And then the dog bites off your hand. Like,
I wish I was watching anime right now. Yeah, I bet you are.
sure, I've waited for that next chapter of Berserk.
Now I can't feel my toes. Okay, that's great.
Oh, I'm just like Guts now.
He's just like me, for real, for real.
For real, no cap.
Okay.
Go to your
in a
local
chemistry
comic
class.
shop and
You
talk
cannot
with your
have
weird
paid me
comic
enough to have paid attention. But
Oh my
chemistry is
God.
something-
Why are you yelling, buddy?
Did he
Fuck,
do
what's
that?
I thought that was
you go
Whisp.
back,
No,
please?
it was-
No, that was
I thought
the
that
guy.
was. I thought that was Mark.
No, that wasn't me.
Holy shit!
he just burst.
Can we hear that again?
Yeah, go.
Did somebody step on his toes?
But maybe
Maybe the
dog is there.
bit him. Yeah.
Hi, doggy.
feeling stuck with a monotonous experience. Almost like when you're halfway through a semester and you walk in a chemistry class. You could not have paid me enough to
Whoa.
have paid attention. But chemistry is something I've never liked from the beginning. Becoming bored of something you're passionate
I guess that was supposed to be a cutaway joke.
What are you doing in university at a class you're paying for that you're not enjoying? That is on you, sir.
That makes you angry for going to. Are your parents forcing you?
Are you like, oh, I spent $1,000 on this course I'm never going to enjoy? It's like, well, who's
Wait, is this guy a high schooler then?
I think this is his. I don't know about that, but this certainly sounds like a very personal issue. He presented it as a joke, but I don't think it was one. I think this was genuine.
This is so
But
weird.
we definitely know that he doesn't like Breaking Bad.
Well,
This was a genuine thing from his life.
he's bored of anime, but he really hates chemistry. It's like, what does that have to do? Like, what are you doing here, buddy? Is this your...
We need to get Eric on, like, because
That
now
was-
we're talking about Breaking Bad.
No, that was not the microphone to do that with.
Cobain asks, what is a good anime to watch? Like, what's the best anime to watch with your parents? Barefoot Gen. Barefoot Gen is a fairly,
Can you
parent-oriented
spell
anime.
that?
Of course.
I didn't...
I did not understand what you were
You
saying.
said Etrigan? What was it?
Barefoot Gen.
Bear...
Okay.
Generation.
Okay.
Okay. I would say Monster or Bebop. That's a...
I tried watching Cowboy Bebop, the original, with my dad, and he just like he sees animation, and like the next thing he thinks about is that it's for children.
Yeah.
It's just like, even though he loves superhero stuff, so like he's the kind of guy that collects like 70s and 80s comic books since he was a teenager,
Oh.
and like he said, like the best Spider-Man is from the cartoons, and I said like, which one? I don't fucking care.
Oh, the original?
What a wonderful conversation.
Yes.
That's great.
He just said like all the live action ones are twinks.
Wow.
All the live action ones are twins. What an in-depth and insightful take.
Watch with your parents now and then, here and there.
Okay, well, all we get from
That
this
has
guy...
everything.
All we get... Oh, that's a good one, yeah. All we get from this guy is he hates chemistry and he's bored of his hobby. Okay. Or he's making this all up just to make a video. I have no idea.
Wow.
For is a whole frustrating that the very thing you turn to in order to be from everyday life feels a part of everyday life. Although this is slightly deviating from the main point of the video, I do want to point out that losing the desire for one's hobbies or activities that you enjoy over an extended period of time can be a sign of depression. That isn't really the topic of this video, but if you think you're struggling with mental health, do yourself a favor. Don't go self-diagnosing on TikTok. Please seek professional help. But boredom...
Please see. This is great. Oh, by the way, you could be depressed. Please. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, what is the topic now?
Please-
He even
please
mentioned
get out.
TikTok.
Is he self-aware?
No, this is so dumb.
Just
Dude.
this might not actually be burnout. This might actually be depression. You should seek help and get off TikTok. Thanks.
You might be a psychopath if you have no feeling whatsoever. You're not enjoying life at all. Life is meaningless. Don't kill anyone, by the way. Oh, thanks.
How is this related to anime?
Oh, my God. He might have anti-personality disorder. What's the term? I can't remember.
You mean antisocial?
Antisocial personality disorder.
Anti-personality disorder sounds fun though.
Anti-person? Is he a fucking anti-personnel grenade or something?
Oh,
He
God.
explodes.
Is that the
when he
reptile
uses
aliens, the anti-personalities?
I think
There is a...
people are-
There was a level in Castlevania Lament of Innocence called Anti-Soul Lab or something. It was Anti-Soul Mystery Lab. I was like, what the hell does that even mean?
What is an anti-soul?
I don't know. It was just this crazy Japanese translated title, and I don't think that's what it meant. But it
Is that this Japanese obsession with scientificing everything, and then you get negatively and positively charged souls?
with Castlevania, because the nature of the genre is to be bombastic, I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, they just threw a fancy word in there. They invented. Anyway, yeah, this is getting weird. Almost not too different from yesterday, but it's getting weirder.
It's a very different feeling from being tired, although it can feel similar at certain points.
Oh my God.
Boredom more so stems from our mind having a lot of energy but nowhere to direct the energy, thus leading to a lack of interest and focus. That would
He's
explain why I
still
can't sit
talking.
still when I watch something at times. For those that feel bored with anime and manga, I think it's largely been due to an overexposure or an oversaturation of this medium of entertainment. In the years I've done YouTube, I've
he's
spent
right
many
about
hours
something.
reading and making videos about what I've read more than anything else. Add on top of that some of the personal mental
now he
health
is
that I'm
talking
still sorting out,
generally.
and it made for a rather chaotic relationship with what I do. Sure, a lot of factors could be attributed to the nature of being a content creator, but even if I didn't do YouTube and I still had all these hours invested into anime and manga, I think I would still largely feel the same. One of the main
Really?
issues is despite the versatilities that stories can have.
Okay, but there is something that I don't understand. Like, because he's a content creator, but like his entire content is based around anime and manga. So like, essentially, he's like doing this for a job. So like, does it matter that like he's not doing it for a job and just casually watching? Because essentially, it's the same thing. Like, you watch something and then you have to collect your thoughts about it and display it in video form.
Yeah, my mid-youth crisis experience.
Video crisis. Anyway, I'm gonna read some Wikipedia article on the subject. I hate chemistry. 350k for this. I'm not gonna say it.
All right. Here's Kyograss's hideout again. Thank you, sir. You know what's a good cure for depression, anime, and manga? Yeah, you're right.
Well, it didn't work for this guy.
I'm depressed over anime and manga. Oh, no. Jeez, why am I having this stab wound? Why do I keep stabbing myself? Oh, jeez, why do I keep...
Stop watching Neon Genesis Evangelion. That helps against depression.
Imagine if that's what he's been watching every Friday, and he's like, why am I so depressed? I don't understand it.
I gotta rewatch this for the 300th time. Maybe Asuka this time will marry me. Why did I end up masturbating in front of her? God damn it!
Please, sir, please watch something good. Watch Raxephon.
Raxephon.
Razafon.
Thank you.
Razafan, the better Evangelion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Raxylophon. When I was in the comic shop the last week, I saw a new version of the Evangelion manga.
Oh.
What?
Yeah.
It's called Perfection or something.
What?
So, I don't know, maybe or it was a collection fee. I don't know. I didn't look too close. It was just what am I looking? I don't want to know. And the thought that hit me was, is Hideaki Anno just trying until the end of his life to get this one thing right, and he will remake it again and again and again until he is satisfied?
Actually, Evangelion started out as a manga, but then it turned into a anime. After like a year, the manga was released,
Yeah.
but the anime ended much earlier than the manga.
Okay.
The manga wasn't even halfway out when the anime ended.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Okay, the perfect edition just seems to be another line of or re-release of the anime and the manga.
it's a re-release then.
What of everything together? How does that
Like
work? That
Like,
doesn't make sense.
I'm just looking at Google, eh?
Okay.
I
Wow.
know it's insane.
I never
They
seen.
say that I know it's insane.
I remember seeing an April Fool's joke about re-releasing Dead Space, like a re-release of the re-release of Dead Space coming out next year.
Yeah. Wasn't it like hilariously buggy?
I don't know, but it's just like even Evangelion has become the joke that just never stops.
It wasn't hilariously buggy, although on day of release, I did watch a guy see one of the creatures that was supposed to jump out of a vent just appear behind him, get sucked back into the vent, and fly out of the map.
Was that
Although that scene,
the scene with the giant arm throughout the level and it just pulls you?
no, it's after your first wild encounter with a necromorph that runs down the hallway,
Oh.
where you go to a little left room on the left side, and you go and loot. There's supposed to be a vent that breaks open, a necromorph pops out. Guy came out, then got sucked back into the vent and disappeared.
But Smart, Evangelion was so awesome when we were 12.
I think every anime you've never seen before when you were that age was pretty cool. And then you think
Yeah.
when you're an adult, you think back, you're like, what the hell was that thing? What was what was the 3x3 eyes? Like, what was that about? I can't remember. You watched it again, like, that's kind of silly.
But when I was 14, I was watching Evangelion. I was like asking like several times, like, am I the target audience?
My anime way was what was that? What was an MTV? Right, Lupin.
Okay.
Golden Boy.
Yeah.
Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Say that
Serial
movie.
Experiments Lane.
Serial Experiments Lane. Oh my god.
Techno Lies.
You want to be depressed? Watch Serial Experiments Lane, guys. Yeah.
That's perfect for depression.
Yeah. Watch
To get depression.
Yeah. Watch Serial Experiments Lane. Akira. What was it? Not Wolf's Rain. Although that's a bit depressing. No, the other one. The movie.
Wolf Children?
No.
Jinro?
No, the yes, Jinro. Yes,
Wolf
yes,
Brigade.
we'll watch those together. And
Ninja Scroll's good. Yeah.
and now and then here and there, Technolize, if I didn't mention it before.
You did.
And then after that you just take a random cable out of your computer and strap yourself. You can't help it, you will just do it.
All right. Let's keep going.
Works for me.
We're familiar with and what we know to enjoy. The negative to this is once we've had enough of the same sort of thing, our minds proactively think we have it all figured out. The tropes and
No.
story arcs we've already been through, we expect and predict to be the same for the next story we read.
No.
And once the story begins to prove that thought process true, the lack of interest immediately kicks
Are
in.
you?
And
Are
you
you?
can see-
Is this guy? What is he saying? Oh, because I know the plot from a previous story, therefore it's going to be the same? No.
That's not how humans work.
That's not how stories work. You think every writer goes, wow, I just watched Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm going to make my version of Neon Genesis, where we got to have a scene in a hospital bed and we got to have a scene where we have a giant human chunks falling from the, like, no one does that.
Why is he have you guys seen the image where it's like a bunch of artists saying, I'll never be as great as the old guys? And then the image just keeps going till it's a caveman going, I'm this. This guy is proving this theory of, like, this method of thinking correct. Is that the moment you see a mammoth on a wall getting hunted down by hunters, yeah, you've seen every story of revenge ever written.
Well, the only thing he has credence to in regards to plot is that you want a resolution. And if you don't get that resolution, if you don't get that promise of something coming, you're going to feel gypped. This is kind of the feeling that you got when you watched the ending of Sopranos. You wanted some resolution to figure out what was the story about, what was the message, what did Tony learn, that sort of thing. But it wasn't about that. The story was about these people that had such big obsessions and passions that they took over their lives, they took over their families, and that's that. And they were horrible people, and they got away with it. And that's the mob. And that's all the story had to be. It didn't have to be this ethical story, message, whatever. No, it wasn't about that.
And Sarah, the show even explained that these are sociopaths. They cannot change. Therapy does not work on them. It will at best make them more competent at tricking people.
Well, that was the joke to me, because if you know anything about the mob, any person who goes to a therapist
is dead.
Is the next day is going to be in a body bag. There's no way, especially the head of the mob would share a secret. That's
a bit of a. Yeah, it's a bit of a joke, but that was the way to get into the head of the character without having to have a narrator.
I guess, yeah.
And it was funny enough in a way, and I think it was a good way to demonstrate to let the show teach the audience, like, no, therapy doesn't work with these people.
The same technique was used in Monster with all the psychiatrists interviewing people, and it was done way better because there's multiple versions of them. They have their own techniques, and they're different people that they're being interviewed. And there's even the detective, the crazy Lunge, what's his name? Lunge. He gets interviewed by one of the later psychiatrists, and because he has that weird twitch where he memorizes things, and the guy's like, well, I have this thing called a tape recorder, and you have your hand. And he's practicing typing in this imaginary typewriter. So there's all these great moments there to get into the character without making it seem unbelievable. It's still being anime. It's still being this weird magical world you're in where the Nazis are still around. So,
yeah, but to bring The Sopranos to an end, that ending was actively ambiguous because it was the way it was set up was like a one of these sent-off tension moments where you don't know, will they all be executed now? Will there be a massacre in the restaurant now? Instead, it just ends before that resolution. And because it could just be another normal evening for everyone, but it also was shot the way that you see every one of these people for the last time now, either because the show ends or because they all get killed now. Could be either way, and that was a very well done execution of that idea.
Yeah, people wanted more, but that's you got exactly what the show is, and it didn't detract from that, which I think is pretty fair. So
also, most interesting characters were dead by then anyway.
Okay. Anyway, let's try to get back to this video because we're having a better time talking about different topics. So.
Can't have that.
Yeah, let's go back to being depressed.
Pieces of conversation surrounding anime and manga in general. The amount of times I've heard typical shonen, and the amount of times I said it myself when describing a series, is mostly the result of people reading a few of the most mainstream shonen titles and believing every shonen that has ever existed follows the same style of writing.
Okay, so this is the typical argument we have of what's popular, like super popular, is usually not that great as far as storytelling goes, but it's liked and entertaining for a reason, and you might find that boring, but doesn't mean it is boring. It just means that it's not a big deal to you. So why is Transformers attractive? Explosions, cool effects, big robots transforming into cool things. Good for kids. If you have young kids or you're an uncle or an aunt, great to take them to that. It's fun. But is it great media? No.
I am confused now whether he's talking about himself or anime in general. Because he began talking about himself.
Also, Neil has sadly left the stream, so take care, Neil. For if you ever see this VOD. As for, I'm also confused as to what his point is right now. Is he describing himself as being like this, or is he saying that other people like this? And if so, how does this relate?
Yeah, now he's talking in general, as he should have done so from the beginning. But even then, it's not that anime and manga has become boring. It's that it's a subjective problem of whatever he's now actually bringing up the similar things that we have said. That's not the fault of manga or anime.
Okay.
Are there similarities? Like, yes, of course, but to this day I should not be getting people saying Attack on Titan's a seinen when it is a shonen. Overall, I think the conversation surrounding anime and manga as well has become more monotonous than my voice. It's all mid, peak fiction, clears, and some of the occasional bi-weekly sideshow of the Black Clover fandom getting into it with another fandom for some reason. I don't know who starts it or why it starts, but it always happens.
You don't have time for these jokes.
I'm just laughing.
Minutes.
He's using that nomenclature mid. Is this a thing? Is this a 2023 thing? When did this start happening? Have I been under a rock?
I think it gained general popularity through the AI presidents.
Past month, right? This past month.
Significantly, but like the end of last year is when I got attention of that. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
But yeah, it's all the same. It's all the same meanings and words, just rephrased to throw you off balance. Once it becomes normalized, they'll figure out some other way to confuse you. But
it's just you speak.
Yeah. But my question is, okay, why are you putting this in here when you have 3 minutes left and you still not made a point?
He's a bit rambly, yeah. It's not following a concise plan.
A bit rambly?
He's just trying to throw you off, and then he will uppercut you with a surprise argument.
Okay.
I'm waiting for an argument.
All right, here we go.
And from an outside perspective. So if the feeling of repetition exists when you read or watch an anime, the discussion around it isn't much help. But even if you really, really
not?
enjoy a certain genre of manga, be it horror, romance, action, mystery, eventually too much of the same thing can feel uninteresting. The simple solution would be to read out of a genre you typically read, but once you do that enough, then you start to predict things that happen in your mind regardless of the type of story it is. And if the story early on doesn't offer something new or exciting to the mind, dropping the series is a certainty.
Okay, how do I phrase this the kindest way possible? Just because you know where a story is going does not mean that it's a bad story or that you should drop it. In fact, if that is how it works for you, is that if you know where a story is going or you predict how it's going to end, and that is the key that makes you want to drop a series, I really have to question your critical eye.
Yeah, this is...
Or your actual credentials on commenting on art.
This is... I'm so elitist that when I become even more elite, I get even more bored because I can now see how a story is going to turn out. And you're like, that is not...
Yeah.
That you're
Because,
not that intelligent, sir.
Look, I got last weekend. I got a wonderful suggestion from the server, or was it in the chat here? I don't remember exactly. About an animation movie I completely missed, which is The Book of Life, surprisingly by Guillermo del Toro, and absolutely stunning. It's obvious what the story is, how it's gonna resolve, who's gonna get the girl, and so on. And that the main character is, of course, going to overcome every challenge. But that movie has life in it and joy, and it is just astonishing fun to watch. It doesn't matter that you know how the story is going to go. The execution is so brilliant. And in anime, it's again what I said before. He's showing us all these absolutely beautifully animated pictures, this high level of detail that Japanese drawing and animation is known for, and that is what's captivating. If you know the story already, doesn't matter. The way it is presented, the way it is executed, that is the important part, and that is what Western, not just animation but media, generally just trips over. The execution is meh, the writing is meh, and oftentimes even the visuals are meh.
That's actually where I'll disagree, at least in terms of animation, because I watched a clip from the rise of, I think it's the rise of the TMNT, the one with Black April O'Neil.
Right.
That one has amazing animation, but the writing is bad. It is so horrendous. But if it had good writing, that would be a great show. Like, that would be a fantastic show. And it's the same with anime. A lot of anime has some really, like, bad to alright, like, mediocre writing. But the animation or the storytelling, the devices they use, or the execution is what sells it. Like,
yeah, you can. But if you do that boring, if you do everything boring, then you get things like what was it, Cheat Magician?
Overlord?
No, Overlord is deliberately cheesy. Overlord is interesting because it's
boring.
cheesy. Yeah, it is boring, but it is cheesy, and it wins through the cheese if you are into that and can stand that for long enough. Isekai Cheat Magician is just absolutely boring on every aspect you can imagine. I couldn't stand watching more of it. I forced another episode. It was not. It's just horrible. And otherwise, if that thing had been made 20 years ago, it would have been decent, but still hard because it's just boring in every way. There's nothing special about it. With the visuals he shows us, there's at least something special about them.
Did you perchance watch Isekai Smartphone?
No. I read some of it.
I watched that in a group chat, and I was one of the people that was actually having fun with some of the early episodes, because it's clear that it knows what it is. It just has nothing going for it. but it's also not offensive in how boring it is. It's just bad comedy.
Yeah, the manga sort of fizzled out. It wasn't that interesting to read.
And
Oh yeah, Drunken Mumble, Noragami, that was good. That was surprisingly good, and I agree completely with Drunken Mumble in the chat. There wasn't that much special about it, but it did everything right. Everything it did right. Well executed, good animation, and then it's enjoyable. You don't need to love every manga. Like there's I immediately find things more interesting that delve into Shinto's like stuff, and
Sure, yeah.
I will enjoy that more over generic fantasy. Immediately, same story in either thing. I will enjoy the Shinto stuff more, and he may have just not found that thing for him, or lost it, or I don't know.
You know, I'm beginning to think there's only maybe one way to do things when you're talking about a certain genre or a certain medium, and there's certain expectations you expect. And I know it sounds a little weird, but I always bring it back to food. And I just recently tried a tiramisu. I'm Italian, so I know desserts from Italian culture. And I used to say there's only two ways of doing it. Now I think there's only one way to do it, because you can control sugar, you can control cream, you can control cheese, you can control all these factors, but once you have the basic ratios, you can't change those. You can, 2% here, 2% there, but other than that, no, you have to hit those notes. And if you don't, then it's no longer a tiramisu. It's a cheese, creamy custard thing, or whatever you want to call it. So you can call it something else. You can call it whatever you want, but it's no longer what it's supposed to be. So the same with the romance, the same with an isekai. It's like you have to hit those notes of expectations. And if you don't, if you're not within those green areas, that 60%, you are going to piss people off. You're going to get turned off. In this case, this guy is so brilliant. He knows what's going to happen next. So I'm not concerned with that. I'm not concerned with being able to predict the plot. I'm concerned with, is the plot executed well?
I would love to be a little gremlin inside Massman's head as he watched something like from Tomino, like Ideon or Dunbine, like something that usually throws most people off, and see if he could predict it, as he clearly thinks that he himself is a guru of anime that just can always predict things, therefore they aren't interesting to him.
Yeah, I can't see, even myself, when I watch anime or read manga, I have no idea where it's going. I know what I want to expect because they're setting up a revenge plot or a romance story or whatever the genre is. Like, that's obvious. But how they get there, what challenges they're going to be, what conflicts. Like, there's some stories that just go hard into a different genre. And that's Trigun's a great example. Because happy, 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 fun, fun. And then episode 11, boom. Depression, death, nihilism. Like, holy crap, this got dark quick. So that is what like the tone shifts you have to watch out for. You're going to turn off your audience. And as much as I like Trigun, that was a weird shift of why they did that. So I was not expecting that. I don't think you could have assumed that would have happened, because there's lots of ways to deal with romantic comedies. Or at least post-apocalyptic comedies, if you want to call it that. Okay, let's keep going.
Some have patience, but even then, if a series doesn't become uninteresting at the start, then it eventually will. Again, this is all under the assumption that you were under the same predicament I often find.
Okay, so now this is actually something I kind of follow, in that if a story is starting out boring, then it needs to have certain signs that something is going to be built on that foundation, so that is a necessary evil.
Okay, I say that within regards to Mass Effect, because there's a lot of good setups at the first game. It's so generic and so up in the air. They're like, oh, there's so much potential for this to work. Not to say the story is perfect. There's obviously lots of problems, but once you see the execution and the lack thereof, as the games go by. It's like, it always feels half-baked. There's always something with every scene. As much as I like it, even with Tali, as much as I liked her story, there's something feels off. There's something like there was too many writers in the kitchen or in the room, too many cooks in the kitchen, and you could tell let's try this, let's try that. And it's always a little like a fraction of a thing here, a fraction of a thing there, as opposed to having one clear goal or one clear vision.
I had the exact same feeling with Dragon Age 2.
Oh my God.
It's just like completely dropped the ball after one.
Yes.
It tried to like pursue like so many other things, like so many side stories. And by the end, like you reach the final act, it's just all falls apart.
Everything
like, what the hell
was half-baked in Dragon Age 2, and it really shows. You're right. I think because of the size of the first Mass Effect game, it had all this room to grow, and they were just starting off. They had only a few writers in the room, and then of course there's Chris Etoile in Mass Effect 2. He had some input, and then completely cut out in Mass Effect 2 and 3. So he had all these other good writers at the time, and then some other writers had more leeway, all for the sake of getting this product out the door, which is weird because Mass Effect 2 was the one game that hit all the deadlines. So it was designed exactly the way they wanted it, which is strange as hell. So,
but the main thing I wanted to cover on that, the big but, is that I don't trust him to be honest about that. I don't think that's where he's going. I think he's being extremely dishonest, saying, oh, if it starts out slow, that means it's always going to be slow.
no.
No.
Well,
That's a big no.
Yeah, he used the word interesting, which you never, when you're talking about storytelling, media, plot development, whatever, this part is interesting. You only use that when you can't describe what is happening exactly, because if you know so much about plot development and character growth and whatever stories, you're a deductive genius of what's happening next. You can't use a broad term like it was interesting. I know everything, and it was stimulating. It's like, what do you mean it's stimulating? What do you mean it's interesting? What compels you to keep watching? Because all you're saying is I'm bored again, without giving me any details as to why something doesn't work. And this is where we get to this general opinion of his, which I hate, because when he brought up names before, he showed some clips. He should have said, well, in this episode of this show of, I don't know, Full Metal Alchemist or Brotherhood or whatever, didn't work because of X, or because I watched it previously in the other iteration. And that's fair. You could make that argument because, I don't know, do you really want to watch the second iteration of a long, was it 36 episode show?
I seriously have that issue with that because I have watched the first one. Like the second one barely changed too many things, so I was like, oh well.
Oh yeah,
it's almost the same story. I can understand that it's a much better iteration, and I would do it if I haven't watched it already. But like, I didn't like the first one either, so none of these characters or the universe really is to my liking.
Yeah, I had the same problem too. Did
you guys watch back before he blew his own brains out? Not literally, figuratively. Did you guys watch? What was the guy? The guy that made the Your Anime Sucks for SAO.
Oh. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't point the finger on it. Like it's on the tip of my tongue.
I have no clue what you're talking about right
now. Yeah, what about him? Oh.
Yeah, Digibro was a YouTuber that made a video called How to Spot a Bad Anime on the first episode, saying that it's ridiculous to claim that to discard something, to drop an anime, you need to watch at least 3 episodes, meaning that you need to watch an hour of content every time you want to not watch something.
Okay.
And he tried to make an outline for how to spot things which you might not enjoy. Whilst the title was inflammatory, what his actual point was that there are certain things in an opening that you can usually tell whether it is going to be something you enjoy or not, both in terms of the direction, the color choicing, characters involved, how they portray these characters. repeated dialogue options, stuff like that.
That could make sense if it's not an adaptation to the mangas. The manga, usually it's like, okay, we're going to adapt the manga. And if they just follow the manga, they're usually okay because people want more or exactly what they got, just in an animated format. So in certain cases, in lots of manga, you'll see storylines that start off with the title. Like, I always make a joke about the titles of manga. They're so long or so weird or so specific. And then the storyline becomes something different. So your title is completely pointless. So it happens with the last 5 episodes of the first chapter or something like that.
And I do tend to give anime as well as the Western cartoons to sometimes 3 episodes time, because the first episode I don't find telling enough, in the sense that it gives you certain vibes of the thing that you're gonna see.
Right.
Many shows do either the action hook where you have the roller coaster and then you get the slow part of the story. That's how it's usually done in modern times, to get the audience hooked. Or you have the first episode that is all gentle, world is there, cozy paradise, and then paradise is broken.
Yeah,
but slowly. And then it's a slow increase. And from that alone, I say, okay, maybe you need some time to breathe. I'll give you a second episode, because it's not really much out of my time. And come on, eventually we're gonna run out of good stuff.
It depends, because I give strangely enough, the 3-episode try to Picard, the Star Trek Picard show. And even the first season and the first 2 seasons, I'm like, okay, this is a setup. We don't know what's the payoff. We don't know how this is going to turn out. A lot of red flags are firing in the back of my head, but I'm like, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. When you get to the second episode, you're like, oh, this is not looking good, but they are developing the main plot, so that's fine. So that works out. So all the other stuff can suck, but as long as the main plot.
I think Picard is a bad example, because the first 2 seasons were just pure ideological crap with bad writing, and the 3rd season they recognized, oh, maybe we should do actual Star Trek with this, or we're not going to see any money back.
That's the same thing, because when I get to the 3rd episode of season 3, they had solid plot, decent characters, but then they screwed up the science fiction, which is, a lot better than what happened in the first 2 seasons. But still, I want Star Trek. I want science fiction. I'm not getting it. Why am I watching the show? And now I'm watching or listening to people that are critical of Star Trek as science fiction. They're saying, yeah, this thing sucks, even though the characters are there and they work.
And then you look on the other side, you look at the Orville in season 1. It starts out with the typical bit over the top. Well, in that's just bit over the top, not complete Family Guy over the top humor of, I keep forgetting names. You know the guy,
Seth
Whedon.
No, Family Guy, American Dad,
Seth
Orville. MacFarlane?
Seth MacFarlane?
No. Anyway, the guy who made that. And his humor there is in the beginning, it's strong. Even though it's not my type of humor, it's a strong element of the show. And then it tones down, because the Orville is, despite everything, a serious universe. And so all these jokes that he does, this sort of comedy, gets reality checks all the time. That means it runs into brick walls. The characters are not immortal. So in one show, in one episode, you have these 2 cocky women who act like we own the place, and then they just get shot by the guardsmen of the colony ship that they invaded, more or less.
You lost me at Seth MacFarlane. Whatever his name was.
That's all right. But that is that show turned into more serious stuff. You couldn't tell that from the first episode.
That could be
what
I was referring to with Trigun. It's as a tone shift after the halfway point, or I think
is at the
Yeah.
halfway point. I remember that much.
It's exactly at the halfway point. But even then, the comedy it shows you in the beginning is what's supposed to hook you, and if that's not your style, then you won't enjoy the show. And lots of these old comedy animes had something like this going, where you had a comedy thing. Like Slayers was a comedy show, comedy manga in a way, but it's also a serious fantasy world that has its strong emotional moments and world-shattering events.
All right.
Let's see if he goes in depth on the point.
Sure.
At the then it eventually will. Again, this is all under the assumption that you were under the same predicament I often find myself in. The feeling of boredom and disinterest for an anime or a manga comes in once we feel that all the time we have invested into this story has been nothing but a waste of our time. This is partially why I say it's not always what's in the story, sometimes it's the person experiencing it. A story can be great, but oftentimes it's the first story that impacts us greatly that's hard to replace. And so it's this never-ending search to find something that can make us feel something akin to that previous series. And if it doesn't, the disappointment can be
Not at all.
So he's chasing. Oh, I know. The equivalent to what he's chasing is this feeling of first romance.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Huh?
He's chasing after a pussy, but he doesn't realize it.
Yeah,
So instead he replaces it
Yeah.
with like menial things.
This is like a pizzeria. You have the best. Let's say you go to your favorite pizzeria. It's like the classic margarita. Everything's like perfect. You're like, oh, if I can't go to a pizzeria like that, what's the point? It's like, well, there's like thousands of ways to do a pizza. You're going to enjoy at least one of them. You have to go out there and try them. But they're never going to be as good as that one. It's like, this not.
No, he wants that first pizza again. That experience of the first pizza.
Which
that
is silly.
first love he ever had. He wants that again.
It's I like to think that people will, for the most part, grow out of romanticizing those experiences.
Yeah.
Like we all have those favorite
That's
moments.
when you become an adult.
Like we all had those favorite moments when we were children. Like mine, which comes to mind, was watching Digimon movie. Was eating pizza at my grandpa's place. Or grandparents' place. Like just alone in the middle of the dark, watching that stuff for the first time. Like, those are memories I'll never forget. And I'm sure all of you have your own similar memories that stick with you throughout your life. But chasing that memory, it's nothing but a memory.
Yeah.
It sticks out to you after the fact.
Unless, I was going to say, unless he's got like some immaculate experience where he married his first love back in high school or something like that, and everything was like, oh, life hits you fast. He's like, okay, that's your life lesson. As opposed to most of us who like have a love and lose it, and then they go through dating and getting older and finding someone else. Like, yeah, life is pain. We get it.
Yeah, but what he's explaining is that now that he's married his first love from high school, now he wants to marry his first love from high school again.
And
that's his problem.
And that's the problem, is that he is romanticizing something that can't happen again.
Yeah, and this is the reason why certain types of people, when they're in stable relationships, suddenly jump after another guy or girl, because it's they get overwhelmed by this longing for this initial flame, this initial spark that was there years ago, because that's not necessarily there in a long-term stable relationship.
Yeah,
and that's what he wants.
And then they're going, once they break up with that person, as they chase someone that's not interested in them, or is that actually a terrible person, then they're going to miss the flame that they had and didn't appreciate from before. And that's kind of my point, is that he is chasing something they cannot have, and it's going to be a negative effect.
But he's under the guise of it being uninteresting or boring, whatever that means to him.
That is his coping mechanism, yes.
Yeah, and what you mentioned with these childhood memories of those special movies, special stories, special moments in video games, or other storytelling. I never expect that to happen, but sometimes it still does, and it does because I don't expect it to happen. I don't long for it. And that's why it can surprise me much easier, and then I can treasure that even more. Or at all. But he's craving it like a drug, it seems.
It might be, again, I say a mid-youth crisis or a young adult crisis.
Youth crisis.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, people are not growing up anymore. On the other, they have a mid-youth crisis.
I don't know. They're so entitled. They got all this great media.
Isn't that a thing you should have at the end of puberty when you become an adult?
What do I do with myself?
How do you want to have a midlife crisis at 40?
What books will I read? Oh, no.
He's going through his Ikari Shinji arc.
Oh, God. There's no way out of that one.
Do I get off the train or do I stay on it?
Because it was never written into an ending. There's no ending. You will forever be Shinji.
There is an ending, the rebuild movies. But like, thank God, 28 years later.
I did not watch that. It doesn't exist. Only the original show exists.
There's only the original MP3 player and those 24 tracks.
But by the time Whisp you get to watch the rebuild movies, there's gonna be like the 5th version, the iteration of that.
Oh God!
There's gonna be a 6th child or whatever the hell the number they're at.
Hideaki Anno will continue making Neon Genesis Evangelion from the grave. He will have uploaded a copy of his mind into an AI, and that will forever generate Neon Genesis Evangelion.
And ironically, Kojima wants to be an AI soul.
No.
Oh God! Like, imagine that Kojima and Hideaki Anno like make a collaboration.
Oh my! No way! That would be hilarious.
Yes.
Just imagine, like.
Can we throw in a third for Trinity?
No, that's.
Who else would?
No,
who else?
You can't. How could you?
Give me a third one.
How could you?
Give me a third one.
No. Why would you need any? Like, one is enough. Hideaki Anno is going to be like, okay, we got to make it sadder. We got to put
the immovable object and.
Yeah, it's like saying an immovable object meets an unstoppable force meets a never-ending explosion. You know, it's just like, what the fuck is going on? What's the third force?
Oh, Michael Bay, because explosions.
Michael Bay and his lens. No, JJ. Lens flares from Mr. Mystery Box.
Takeshi Kitano.
Who?
Also,
do it.
Also, Tyler says that guy sounds like a perfectionist. He's looking for something that's impossibly perfect. That is not what he says. He says that he wants to re-experience the first time. The first thing that gave him a rush, so to say.
The first time when he lost his virginity. Oh, wait. Yeah.
He only wants to fuck virgins.
Yeah. And, okay. Well, it's a metaphor one.
Islam.
But I don't think perfectionism has anything to do with it. Problem is, he's being so vague about it, was also framing the world. That it's very hard to talk about an argument with, because it's very subjective.
Oh, every story has already been done. Did you expect Hacksign?
Oh my God!
When that came out, the first anime, as badly drawn as it was.
Did he expect Re:Zero?
Did he expect
that story?
Did he ever think that Konosuba would work? I didn't. I was like, this is going to be stupid as hell. And it is.
It's like a grounded Excel saga.
Oh, that's an interesting way of putting it. Everyone's crazy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, Drunken. He's chasing a dragon. He's tilting at windmills, hoping that something will come out of it.
Yeah, but he's depressed. He's actually trying to be undepressed, but he doesn't know how. So he's trying to ramble through it. You're like, okay, sure, buddy. Rationalize your depression. Here we go.
Okay. Tyler Preston nominates Hirohiko Araki to the Trinity. I can't place that name, but Lala is laughing.
I guess Araki forgot.
Okay.
Oh, you got that.
All right.
It's a JoJo's reference.
All right.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll keep going. Almost done.
There needs to be some different type of crazy.
I don't think investment into manga went up during the time of the pandemic. Without the usual social activities and sports that often occupied my time,
Irrelevant.
I, along with many others, were forced to stay indoors. And what else to do but make the time pass by watching and reading things? This only fueled what would become this oversaturation of anime and manga. But if there's a positive in all of this, is being bored isn't entirely negative. Neuroscientists, in fact, would argue that boredom can lead to more creativity in the mind, since it is searching for something to invest the energy into. We think how this could be better, more engaging, and entertaining, and so it creates something new from the inspirations we have, be it the good or the bad ones. Eventually, that thing created becomes popular, more things are created to follow the formula laid out by said thing.
Dude, that's just coping, man.
Yeah.
If you're not creative, boredom will more likely lead to nihilism.
Yeah, if he's not
self-destruction.
If he's not doing something else with his life, like, oh, this story sucks, I'm going to stop watching it and do something creative. It's like, yeah, great, cool, whatever. You could say the same with anger.
What do, dude?
You know,
Depression can actually be good for you. What, in 0.01% of cases?
My depression cured my depression.
Don't romanticize the depressed artist. Yes, some of these people have brought us the greatest art in the world, but there were absolute exceptions, and then they're usually off themselves.
Yeah, a lot of these characters are so depressed or sad, and they don't have any fame, they don't have any fortune as a result. There's minor exceptions, of course, but making great art is not some positive experience. It's painful, it's long, it's hard. Anything worthwhile takes time. The problem is the creative process is not this cathartic experience. To get there requires emotion. You have to use that emotion. You have to put it into something. And that's like basic anything. You have to put all this energy into something. And because it's writing, because it's creative stuff, or media rather, that is going to take a toll on you. Because if you're not experiencing those things when you're writing or making it or perceiving what you're doing, you're not going to get that out of the audience. There's no way. And all the comedians know that. Comedians start from a place of loneliness and wanting to communicate and wanting to express their feelings, which are mostly negative. So they come up with these obvious truths that the rest of us don't even pay attention to because we're going about our day and eating well and drinking well and going to sleep. Whereas they're, like Jim Carrey was homeless for how long with his family and alone. And he had to figure out how to be creative out of all that. So making art is hard. And maybe the artist, like, I don't think Gaiman talks about that, but Gaiman is I wouldn't say he's a depressed guy, but he's got some demons in his closet. And he comes across...
Yeah, you should have a better role model, like Dachi from Persona 4. Buy a good cabbage, that's what I mean.
Dude, Gaiman is so depressed, he invented the emo thing.
He got associated with the punk emo scene and studied all kinds of crazy dark rituals from every religion he could find to make horror work. And it's crazy, the stuff he comes up with. But that's every writer who writes good stories. I
don't know. He said it in an interview once when he was asked, like, "Oh, but what if your daughter grew up to become a goth or something like that?" And he said, I would sit her down and tell her, "You can't rebel against me with that. I invented that."
Oh, really?
Well, he didn't exactly, but maybe in America.
Oh boy. Well. Anyway, yeah, no, it's tough making art, and if he thinks that bad art can inspire you, sure it can, but in a very, very small way. Not everyone is that creative, and in most cases for me, it's rage. I get really angry, or I used to get really angry, at dumb people, and then I would reply with videos or essays. I have a lot of unwritten stuff or unfinished written stuff that I have for videos that I just didn't bother turning into videos or books or what have you. So I always have these manuscripts open on my tabs for my text editor.
Gigabyte of unpublished rage.
Yeah, there's like people who have tabs in their browsers. I have tabs in my Notepad++ app, and it's just 80 or 90 tabs of just me writing, scientific articles, and me write my rambling, my philosophical ramblings. I had a book I was writing 2 years ago. I still have it there. Pure philosophy. I have my new novel I'm writing. I started last month. So, it's this thing you got to get out of your system. It's like a calling. It's like studying science. Like you don't just fall into science. Let's do math. It's like, no, you get bored within 20 minutes. Your brain will be like, you do math because you want to understand the universe, and then you focus that attention to chemistry or physics or biology or whatever. So it's a calling. You do it.
Some kids start with math because it's the one thing that doesn't lie to you.
Sure.
Then you get into higher math in university and you go, fuck you.
Math is great. It's one of those things you can always fall back on. Anyway.
Yeah.
Back to the video.
And eventually we get that thing as well. It's a bit of a vicious cycle. To take it a step further, this sort of problem with boredom can extend beyond just our forms of entertainment, but into our daily routine.
Stop it, no.
Whether you're going to school, going to work, no matter what it is, if a large majority of one's time is devoted to something and nothing substantial changes, it can feel stale. After a while, it feels like you're slamming yourself into a brick wall over and over and over again, and hoping for a different result. So if anime and manga has felt largely boring to you, what's the solution?
Those cuts.
Well, it's balance. One of the biggest issues that I have as a
giving me
person
an
is I'm a
aneurysm.
man of extremes. Ask anyone who knows me well enough, and one of the main words they'll use to describe me is obsessive. When I like something or I'm invested into something, I invest myself so much into becoming better at said things or knowing more about it, or having the same 10 seconds of a certain part of a song replayed over and over and over again, that I burn.
I would not want to know you in real life.
Yeah, it sounds not fun. I would not want to play board games with you.
He's the kind of person that always wants to play Catan because they are the last one standing, whilst everyone else has just walked away. Because it's now 3 a.m. and they got stuff to do at 7.
Most of those...
Nobody plays Settlers of Catan with me.
Yeah,
I refuse to play that.
Well, most of the people I know that play that are engineers.
Most people who play that don't know fucking board games.
Oh, that's true.
It's like, oh, you did anime? That's the Naruto, right? That's the Dragon Ball. That's what Settlers of Catan is.
You gotta like numbers, man. You got pretty simple.
Or rather, let's say this is rather the Sailor Moon of board games.
The Sailor Moon of board games is Settlers of Catan, really? Oh my god.
Also, whilst this video, just a little bit ironic, this video, or stream rather, had probably one of the lowest just tripled the most viewers in a while. Like we're down to 19 viewers. 19 people still sticking around waiting for him to make an argument. We
were at 40 and now it's down. Yeah, we're just like, this guy.
Make it stop.
If he has this odd OCD, why not use it in a productive way and improve your sound cuts for your video?
Yeah, if you're talking about a character with autism or OCD, yeah, they do get bored. They become hyper-focused in certain areas. But I think by this age, you would have, like, as articulate as this fellow is, he would have figured that out. And
not all do that. There are people in their 50s, 60s who did not figure any of this out because they lack self-awareness.
He sounds like he knows what he's going through. I don't know if he's lazy with his edits because those sound edits are silly.
Listen, if he reached 350k subs, he's not gonna care how he enunciates things, how he edits the stuff, because it's gonna sell, nevertheless. But what he's going for is that he needs to cram out these kind of garbage videos every week or day. I don't even know what kind of schedule. I gotta check it out, but this typical channel of it, just from the editing itself, the visual editing, you can take away that he doesn't put that much effort into selecting the clips. Maybe it's vaguely presenting what I'm talking about, but that's pretty much it. Because he makes cuts every 5 or so seconds. I don't know if you really have the kind of videos that the Critical Drinker makes. If you notice that the Critical Drinker's editing style is extremely lazy. like he has a cut every second. So it's probably like some kind of automated process, or like he grabs like someone else's video as a compilation, and like they just like does a narration under it, which is like unrelated to the subject where he got it originally from.
Possibly.
Well,
Yeah,
but
it's like
Critical Drinker also has something to say. Although I have his faults, especially when it comes to his critical analysis on stuff that isn't immediately garbage. But at least he has something to say. Well, here,
yes,
the visuals are lazy. They are presentable, but they are lazy. And he doesn't seem to have anything of value to say. He's just rambling, trying to throw mud at the wall, see what sticks. At least 3 times now, he's brought up psychology and the nature of boredom.
yeah. But yeah, I just checked it out. Like he publishes a video every 2 or 4 days.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although he has like a video with my top 20 anime manga antagonists, and top 3 is Griffith and Johan from Monster. So at least like he has like some taste, but not enough.
But maybe he's one of these types that thinks that this audio issue that he has here is a style that's.
Well, he just doesn't care. Like, why should he?
I'm not gonna
Well,
promote us theorizing about his production process. I think we can quite easily reach the end of this video and conclude that this video was a filler. Like, this was just filler.
probably we know he hates chemistry, and he's confused. That's about it. So
It's a cry for help.
yeah, but that's like the other video we watched. This is the cry for help that doesn't really have anything to do with the topic at hand.
Yeah, but this would then be a more honest and self-conscious cry for help, while the other is completely oblivious that he is destroying himself.
I don't know
Also,
what that video was, man. I was like, what are we listening to this guy for? What is he talking about?
Also, Kraya has to saying, hearing Massman's voice is the equivalent of losing a quart of plastic. Jesus. That's a harsh one. I
All
wouldn't say his voice is that bad. Like, genuinely, I don't think his voice is that bad.
It's just his audio editing. It's
Yeah.
jumpy as hell. Yeah. Anyway.
Burnout. The horrible solution I have to prevent myself from becoming obsessive is detaching myself completely, which in turn leads to separation and these long extended breaks from things. But the solution is finding balance. Easier said than done. But when one becomes bored and soon apathetic, it's important to change things up and include other things that can take us away from whatever we're getting bored of. Managing a schedule so we can fill our day-to-day routine with other things, even new things that we might be uncertain that we'll enjoy it or not. If you don't go to the gym, try incorporating that into your schedule.
All right, I'm done with this guy.
This is like kind of like something that I never understood. Like, if you are a person who can appreciate something as art as like Monster, that like you're talking about like the main antagonist in like a lengthy video, that how the fuck can you not get over like these extremely everyday kind of things that like, oh, why is boredom? How do I get over boredom?
Yeah.
Like, this is
It's just self-therapy now, because this is the things that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I
just like yesterday.
am done. We are finished with the video. We're going to go street memes and
Memes.
have some fun.
I'm just confused. Why would you make a video, waste 7 minutes, just to get to the point of saying, oh yeah, if you're feeling bored, you should try mixing up your palette. Wasn't the entire video just about you being unable to cope with boredom yourself? And now you feel like you're the expert within 6 minutes?
Yeah,
but
but
you want to tell how others should solve it?
he already recommended watching other genres of the same medium, but even then, that leads to you being bored because you're going to figure out how all the stories are going to work because you're such a super genius like me. It's like, okay.
There's no way to fix it until he reaches the 7 minute mark, at which point he has his silent eureka moment and it clears, this is how you fix it. Do exactly what I said won't work, but it'll work this time, trust me. Communism will find.
Oh dear, you actually clipped a screen cap of boredom on Wikipedia.
You
Fine.
didn't screen cap the cat. There's a picture of a cat.
It's okay. I don't need to
It's a
go there.
cute cat.
I'm good.
It's a very sad, cute cat.
I'm bored. Here's a solution. Read another book. I don't want a solution. I want to be bored. I'm going to talk about my boredom for you, for clicks. Okay, great.
Here's how you can avoid being bored like me.
This man has personality disorder. Personality.
That's a good word. I like.
If you want to get depressed, watch Dragon Ball Super and Boruto. Depression guaranteed because they are such horrible continuations. Oh, interesting.
Burrito.
But I've heard something that with Boruto was like so bad they had to bring back the father. That is how bad it is.
Well, isn't that just a classic story of daddy coming to save the kid?
I mean, like Dragon Ball did that or too. Like it was kind of like going that like Gohan is gonna take over and like it's gonna continue like that. But like people didn't have it, so like let's bring back Goku. Oh, why not?
So this is, I think, Serial Experiments Lane.
Yes.
Okay. My memory of Lane is so
It's beautiful.
bad because was it 13 episodes or 9 episodes? It wasn't that long.
Yeah, it was a short show.
And I tried.
It feels like every episode is an hour long.
It's so depressing. You're just sitting there going like, what is happening? Why is this? Is she getting better? Like,
Episode.
yeah, don't bother. Just do not bother.
It's amazing. Watch it.
Will I ever be as good as the old masters? Will I ever be good as the old masters? Will I ever be good as the old masters? I'm the best.
Is that a Warhammer?
Yeah,
Yes.
that is a Warhammer.
That was the argument he was making, is that once somebody has done something, you just can't get anything new out of watching something new. It can't be done. You're wasting your time, because the old ones did the best.
Because I have read
This
the
is
Joseph
definitely the
Campbell,
best.
I know all the stories.
Oh God. And I'm not sure what this is referring to, but this could be, was it 10 years old, this guy on MSNBC? I don't remember him.
Oh yeah, this was on the topic about needing an interesting hook. Like, it's gotta be interesting for you to be...
Yeah, guys, as I said before, never ever use this term.
Yeah.
Anyway.
May you live in interesting times.
Oh my God.
May you have a lot of interest.
Okay, well, that was our Anime Weeb Day. Thanks, guys. Maybe he has non-filler videos we can cover. That would be nice, with actual opinions that make sense and aren't him trying to talk to a therapist that he can't afford. So
I would take opinions that don't make sense as long as he has an opinion. This wasn't an opinion piece. This was just filler.
yeah,
It was
Imagine like
filler.
imagine like him using all his ad revenue to a therapist.
to make something worth. Yeah, I know. This is so dumb. Anyway, he's popular for a reason. Good for him. Keep going, sir. But just don't do this kind of content ever again. Thank you so much for listening. I don't even know what the schedule's like because you guys changed it on me, but I'll talk to Mr. Administrator on that. So Friday's our content day? Oh God. All right.
Friday and Saturday.
There goes my my downtown schedule, whatever I want to do for fun. No.
We've been doing
it's
Friday
basically like
streams.
if we have a video worth covering, then we can do a stream.
Yeah.
That's kind of the deal.
Okay. Anyway,
Yeah, but we've always done Friday streams.
keep the recommendations coming. Keep the voting going. You have any ideas that aren't getting hit, message me directly, or anyone in the cast will be happy to nag each other about it and see who wants to cover it. It really comes down to us. But let's say you want to cover it with me. We'll chat about it. Why not? It might be worth our time. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for your time. Take it easy. We'll talk to you soon. Good night.
Good night.
Night.